Welcome. You found your way to MindLife Mayhem.
Congratulations.
Conversations exploring critical challenges affecting people's ability to lead a full life.
MindLife tackles the construct of psychiatric disability as we have known it.
With brave and fearless thinking, MindLife finds new ways to challenge the old narrative.
We invite you, either as a help seeker or a help provider, to think, live and ultimately be different.
I'm Gill Townsend.
And I'm Helen.
We're ready to take on the challenge.
Are you?
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm just interested in what we mean by community, because we throw it around a lot.
Well, I think it has to be naturally occurring.
Yeah.
So it's available to everyone. So I don't have to have a special identity to go there. So it's the pub, it's the footy club, it's the swimming club, it's the parks, it's the yoga groups, I would even throw in the dentist and the GP, because you don't need it's not a special group. Set up the culture pieces, the theatres, the art galleries, the things that the schools, the things that make up, that give us the opportunities.
You know what I call this? I call it the civil society.
Yeah.
It's the things where we come together as human beings and make the world that we live in. And what we've done is we exclude certain groups of people from those participation and decision making.
Yes.
And so we've got whole groups of people who don't take their rightful place in community.
But then I think this is where, we've got a huge lot of needs around connection.
Yeah.
Companionship, connection, celebration, those needs that we need someone else to join with to do. And we do those in community. And if we're locked out of that, the only places we have to connect with people are in very small spaces around difference or around illness or around disability of some description. And they're not life-giving spaces. So if I have to identify with my difference in order to engage in an environment, and that difference is not socially valued, and no illness or disability or life challenge is socially valued, therefore I become invalid, invisible. But we still say, oh, they're participating, they're showing up, they're engaging, but we're not.
Might as well still have your institutional pyjamas on.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we settle for that. I used to settle for that, thinking that this is the best. It was safe, but it wasn't life-giving. I think the producers just said there's a call to the MindLife Mayhem line.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
You've reached
Hi.
the MindLife Mayhem line. How can we help? You're speaking with Helen and Gill.
Oh, fantastic. Helen, Jill, I've been listening to the MindLife Critical Crucial Conversations. I've been joining you every couple of months there. My name's Cherie and I work with a community mental health service.
Hi, Cherie.
Probably shouldn't name.
Hi, Cherie.
Hello. Thank you so much for what you've been talking about. But I have to say, you've really challenged me by what you've been saying. So I just wondered if you could help me with some advice.
Yeah, sure. Shoot. Let's see how we can kind of help.
So our mental health service is community-based and we have a building, and I can see that we've got a space that is available that I could maybe put something on at night. And so we've been devising this lovely idea where people could come, bring music, sit around, maybe we've got some table tennis as well, and we thought we could create this really nice space that's outside of our service during the day.
Right.
And it'd be safe, and could even put some food on and maybe give some people, because they're all lovely people that come to the service during the day, and we just think it'd be nice if they could hang out together. But now I feel really challenged by the concepts in MindLife. It makes me think maybe we could do better.
Is there something there that you've got is particularly challenging you that you kind of go, oh, I might check this out before I kind of let this idea go live?
Well, I'd like anyone to feel like they could come. And so I want it to feel like, a place you'd go in the evening and just have some fun with people. And now I realise that it's at our space.
Can I ask you a question, Shereen? This is usually a test question. Where do you go at night for fun?
Oh, I don't know. That's rare to have some fun, but I might go to the pictures, or I go to my friend's house, or sometimes I go to like a bar and listen to some music.
Yep. Yeah. And I think that's a really good indication to follow, because the places that you go are probably, they give you energy, that kind of help you feel that fun or connected or less lonely, or kind of, let your hair down, are probably similar to what people who have a mental illness also want to go to. So what I don't hear you say is that you're looking up a service to go to at night.
Yeah. Look, Sherry,
you're right. I wouldn't go to my service at night.
And
you're right.
Sherry, I just want to say that, thank you, and because the issue that you've raised is one that we grapple with, and it's and good on you because you're thinking outside. You're starting to think outside the box, because you're thinking need to do something outside of 9 to 5 service hours. So really want to acknowledge that, and the fact that you're going, there's something not gelling, not quite
doesn't
right
quite
here.
fit kind of something amiss. So can we help you with a few more questions to see if you can test your idea a bit more and see what comes up for you?
Well, the real idea was a safe space, but I don't know that like going to a pub is even safe for me, let alone I'd like a better place to go to.
One of the things I'm thinking about is that you're not trusting that community can offer people a safe space. And I'm wondering whether, if you're saying your service is safe, are you actually saying that community is not safe? Are you inadvertently reinforcing people to disconnect from the very things that you're hoping that they would connect to?
Well, good. Yeah, really interesting, because obviously everyone has a different scenario and their personal circumstances comes into it, like, whether they're a woman or with trauma background or all those extra layers. But for me, the safe space, I suppose, is to express themselves, or, if they want to bring a guitar in and play a song to other people, or, something that would be different. And that's why I personally would like it to be anyone would want to come to this space. I thought of decorating and bringing the artists and bean bags, maybe showing a movie.
Is it still going to give is there a risk that it will still be known as that mental health place, that service place? Because I'm not sure you're going to get the people in the community kind of, is it something that's going to gravitate them towards you, given it's a service during the day?
Well, then I've got the problem, like, we've got the space and my boss has said, hey, yeah, sure, if you can find something to do.
Yeah.
But if I take it somewhere else, then it's not going to have that support from the organisation. So then it would just be me then, wouldn't it?
Well, that's the other question I want to ask you about, is that what is it that people... what need do you think this is helping people to meet around their community connection? Because one of the principles of MindLife that we really kind of hold deeply is that people can only reclaim their life when they've got real community opportunities, and sometimes services think they're offering real community opportunities, but they're artificial. They look like a real opportunity, but they're not the real deal. And I'm wondering whether your idea could be stretched a little bit further to how could it, what need are you trying to help people to connect to in their community? Is it that you think they're lonely, or they've got nowhere to play their guitars, or they've got nowhere to hang out together, or what is the barrier? What's the barrier that you're trying to help them to overcome? Because it sounds a little bit like you're providing the solution rather than the scaffold to help them kind of reach into their full community life and living.
Yeah, good. So you always challenge me. That's why I thought I'd call you, because
we're doing our job.
The helpers can help and get in the way.
Yeah.
I so think about that. But okay, so taking on board what you're saying, what about if I created a space for some of the key people that have been telling me that they'd like to get together? If they start coming together to plan something, maybe they can use our space to then organise something else.
So I'm wondering around the people and what their needs are, and how similar they might be and how diverse they might be. So
they're all so different. That's right. That's where I don't know where to begin, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think asking the questions of the people, because you're invested in working with those people. And so I think it's important to understand what's their needs individually, where their commonality is, but also get out of their road and allow them to find some time to connect together, and they might find something quite surprising.
And they may not even want to connect together. I know when I was receiving a service for a long time, I did connect with other people with a mental illness, but it didn't serve me well to connect to my community. It just served me to stay connected to my illness. And I'm wondering if there's another question there, that what's stopping them being able to connect to what everyone else connects to? Because that's where your focus as a service, that's what your offer is about, community, bringing community back into the heartbeat of what you're about. You're not there to manage someone's mental illness or to stop them feeling distressed. You're to help them to create the opportunity for them to scaffold into their community, to kind of take up those opportunities rather than be the solution to their distress.
Okay, now you got me thinking about why, what was my motivation in the first place. And I remember having just a couple of different conversations with different people, and it all came down to the one thing our service can't provide or support is how to support them to make friends outside of the service.
Yeah.
And even though they have family and they have school friends, or so often they don't get that grown up connection with people.
Yeah, and I don't actually think that's a challenge to just people with a mental illness. And this is why things like Tinder and those apps are so prolific, because that's something that we all struggle with, and kind of like making those connections, and so we sometimes reinforce that this has just got to do because I can't create relationships with with people, but in order to make those relationships with people outside of it, with illness, we've actually got to go to places. We've actually got to step into places where we might meet someone. And it takes work and it takes effort. And it's not just a once showing up. I think we're very good at helping people stay away from those spaces.
It reminds me of a situation that in a service I was working in once, where there was a woman who desperately wanted to go to a certain type of nightclub where she thought she would find her tribe. And what we did was to work with her through a whole heaps of steps around how to get there, what to wear, what to do. And we actually took the effort of the worker. There was a worker who went with her one night but was in the background just helping her follow the steps.
And that's good community mental health work, because you're doing the work in community, in those spaces where everyone else is.
And so for me, as the manager at the time, I said, that's a bit risky, but it seemed to be the right thing to do. And the outcome was she went there, she continued to go there, and we didn't need to go again.
And I think that's a really good example, is that you might need to be that stretch into it, but then you withdraw. Where I think our community mental health now is about, we've created the solution alternative community, the modern institutionalisation, the modern keeping people away from those spaces because they might be a bit hard to navigate. But our real obligation, if we're really saying we're a community mental health, is that we're spectacularly good at fostering opportunities for people to reclaim their community position, to reclaim those community opportunities, whether it's a nightclub, whether that's work, whether that's a sporting kind of activity that I used to do or want to, connect to for the first time, whether that's meeting people in places that I haven't gone to before. This is life. And sometimes we reinforce the idea that just because we struggle around some mental health challenges, that those opportunities are now not available to us.
Yeah.
What are you going to do now?
Oh, well, the original thing was one of the conversations you prodded me to think, what am I going to do from this conversation? And I wanted to put the community back into community mental health service. So that's why I went to my boss and went, we should have community here. But I can hear very clearly that community should be in community, and our service provides a service. So finding a
and
way to cross over
the
and
crossover
support.
to help that
Yeah,
gap, to help bridge that gap.
yeah.
So
I'm going to ask my the key people that came forward to really explain to me what they meant
yeah.
and let them guide me a bit more, because obviously I'm just coming from my point of view, and that's what MindLife's done. It's made me really think about these, that these aren't just clients and numbers, they're humans with a whole life.
Yeah, I don't have to be the answer.
No.
But I think we
So,
may have done
thank
our
you.
job in being, have we been as provocative as we've promised?
You so have. What you've done is given me permission not to save the day.
I think the thing is to remember, great community mental health work is hard to spot in community. It's the background.
Yeah.
If you can open it, if you can put a picture of it in the paper, if you can cut it with a ribbon, it's institutional work.
Wow.
There you go. Well, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for all of the MindLife thoughts and mindsets. They've just been amazing. Really changed my day.
Please
thank
phone
you
back
for
with
my
your
work.
next question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye
thank
for
you.
now.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Oh,
She was great. Yeah.
wasn't she cool? I loved her.
And I loved her vulnerability about ringing in and asking that, because not many people do.
Yeah.
But what I really appreciate is that she was thinking about the nighttime stuff of actually putting it at where people actually need this, rather than trying to kind of craft it into the 9 to 5 of when it's convenient for a service.
I really appreciated that. So she was already thinking, where does this fit in a natural world? And she was really being smart in going, I've got a resource here, I want to use it.
Yeah.
So, but the fact that she was not quite sure.
It's a great thought. It's that tension, isn't it? About, okay, I've got to test this. I've got to think about this a bit further, rather than just go plug and play. Here's the answer. Here's the solution.
And I think the thing about community mental health work is it's not an easy, straightforward, transactional thing.
No.
It takes place over time. It requires a lot of thinking and navigation with the person.
It's creative too. It's problem solving.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that constant negotiation, that background support, that stealth work. Because if you can see a service kind of as the first thing, then it's not community mental health, it's institutional mental health.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the bus rocks up with the sign on it, or the worker turns up with the T-shirt on and the lanyard around their neck, and all just because it's become routine. But at the end of the day, we're killing off the very thing.
And I think in service providers, it's about not being risky so you're dangerous, but being prepared to take a risk and to do things a little bit differently. So that example of the nightclub, it's a real example. And we thought and talked a lot about how we could do that.
And just with that particular person, as opposed to taking the whole group to the nightclub.
Yeah, really talked about what she was hoping for, how we would behave, where we would stand, how we would dress.
How you'd leave.
What would be the cue that she wanted us to leave. So a whole heap of prep work and preparing work so that she could appreciate and stretch herself in an environment that she clearly wanted to go to.
And I think that it's beautiful work, because it is that stealth work, but it's at the end of the day, as you said, and she then could, the sustainability of that is that she didn't need you to go and do it again.
Yeah.
And I think we've kind of set up community mental health as if you're constantly going to have to be the drivers of this in someone's life, or create the solution, or create the space, or create that opportunity. And so that question that Cherie raised, about that you raised in the last crucial conversation, about how do you put community back into our mental health services, and we've taken it out and we've become this kind of, you can operate outside of using those natural community resources, where I think that's the very essence of what community mental health is about. If it's not using community and if community resources, and if it's not doing it in a stealth-like way, we're probably taking up too much space in people's lives.
And I think that's what's magical about our work. And I think that's the antidote for many workers who I speak to who feel frustrated and dull and not sure why, don't feel like they're getting anywhere, because we've lost the magic spark around how we can really work with people to reclaim their lives.
And that creativity.
Yeah.
So the community mental health is less about mental health issues, much more about that reclamation, restoration, or even reinvigorating new ways of engaging with the community. As a result of mental illness and the treatment responses, we lose a lot of things in our lives. We lose our identity, we lose our confidence, we lose our relationships, we lose our even work and housing and things that actually make up all the good things that make up our community fabric. And so part of our reclamation work is putting those back into place. But it's scary to take that leap. Sometimes we need people to actually, be our wingman to say, yep, you can do this.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And that's what people said in the interviews.
Yeah, there was often a role for a wingman or a cheerleader, somebody who was just there. Yeah, you got this. I know, and helping someone to plan through what they were going to do, but not taking the lead.
Or the credit.
Yeah. And the other thing that I think it's about not only is it reclaiming, it's the reimagining what my life might be. Yeah. It's like the story when it ends on another level. That's what exciting. Lives need to move and change and
the dynamic nature of it. Yeah, because we are constantly changing our relationships in community and where we go and who we engage with and how we engage and our interests change and feeling that we've got our boots on, that we actually can turn up and show up to something that gives us energy and something that gives us that sense of contribution or a sense of, play or a sense of meaning making in our community. We're not going to ever get that in a service.
So
ever.
I'm thrilled that came out of some of the work that we've done through MindLife, some of the mindsets, the conversations. We don't have the panacea or the answer, but we certainly have the questions.
and provocative at that.
Yeah, that's right.
We might not be loved for our questions, but hopefully that they kind of a gift that keeps on giving.
MindLife Mayhem.
MindLife Mayhem.
That's the name of the podcast.
Let's hope someone else kind of takes the challenge.
Yeah, let's hope someone else calls in. Okay. So can we go back to this question about have we taken the community out of community mental health?
Yeah.
And how do those of us who work in community mental health services, how do we bring the community back in again? We lost that art of understanding that community is a healer. It's
where you do your recovery work.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't recover in a service.
Yeah.
You recover in life. You recover by out there engaging in life. And I think that's the first thing that the fallacy is that we think people recover in a service. It's an illusion. But I think that the challenge is that our service systems and the people we engage in, we haven't got out to walk the streets, to meet people, to knock on shop front doors, to go and introduce ourselves, to think about what's in our community. And therefore we go to service meetings with other service providers.
Yeah, that's our little gang. It's our network.
It's our safe space.
Hey, you know what I've been guilty of lots of times? Hiring someone to do a community map.
Oh, my gosh.
I've done it loads of times. It's useless.
A service map, you mean?
Yes. No. Sometimes we've tried to do the community map.
But what's in a community map?
It remains just a list of names. We don't actually get active in it and use it as a tool for recovery.
So if you think about what's the challenge that community mental health services are there to serve, is that for people, they've lost their place, their rightful place in community. Therefore, they can't use it to engage in and do that overcoming work. And we need those opportunities. So a community mental health service should be spectacularly good, and their specialty should be about helping people to connect to life-giving community opportunities, not to service opportunities.
So maybe what we need to do is to actually get clear about what those life-giving community opportunities are.
Well, I think they can be anything, can't they?
Yeah, I think they can
I think they've got to be things that are either work, love, live or play.
Yeah. For me it's the theatre.
Yeah, and what would that be? That would be a play, or would that be a live and play? Love and play. Work, live, love and play.
Work, live, love, play, entertainment, engage, connect with other human beings, feel that you're contributing.
Yeah. I know from my husband, he's found the Coast Guard.
That's right.
And it's not just playing with boats, it's that sense of contribution back.
Yeah.
It's a huge need that many of us have, is that to feel valued, to feel a part of our community, we actually have to have this place that we can feel that we give, not just receive.
Yeah, that's right. That mutuality, that sense of being reciprocal in society and communication.
Can I be a bit provocative?
You can be a bit provocative.
Can I say
Helen.
this, what I'm about to say?
You can say this.
I'm wondering why it's so hard for service providers or help providers to support people or to see that their fundamental role is to connect to naturally occurring things in the community. And I'm wondering whether it's because then becomes out of services control to monitor it, to manage it, to account for it, to include it in its KPIs, to keep it within this ownership of outcomes.
I think it could be. I think that could be.
Is that too hard to say?
I think it's hard to say. I think it could be. I think sometimes it's that we just don't know. We haven't thought deeply about it, and we don't know how to do that. We might not know how to do it well enough for ourselves.
That's true. So if we're not connected to our own community in our own lives, then it was really hard to support someone else to do it. And that takes hard work.
And I think also we're very prescriptive in what we assess are people's needs and what we assess are the things that they want. So
but I think that's the wrong
question.
Thinking. But I think you're right. It's the wrong question. We're asking what do you want as opposed to what's your struggle in connecting to community. And so if you're a community mental health service, there's something, if you're a MindLife service, you're thinking about, there's something about your mental well-being that's prohibiting it or making it really difficult for you to fully engage. And you're hiring us to help you get stronger about your engagement with community. Nothing else. In spite of and despite your mental health.
And are we making assumptions that it's the mental health issue that's getting in the way? It might be a whole
heap of other things. And therefore, the mental health service may not be the place to do that work in.
Yeah.
Because if my struggle is got nothing to do with my mental health that's stopping me engaging in the community, then why would I go to a mental health service? Just because I have a mental illness? But I think many people do.
Question, yeah.
Because I think everything is kind of coloured with this thing. Everything must be down to your mental illness. But it might be, I actually don't have a bus service. But a mental health service isn't going to fix that up, except they'll drive me.
Or it might have been that I've just lost connection with what my passion is.
Yeah.
Or there is a new passion that I haven't quite found yet.
Yeah.
I think we found our passion.
But I think, can I just say something here? I think we're asking that wrong question. So the fundamental question a community mental health service has to ask is about what is your struggle in accessing your community? Nothing about your problem, nothing about your medication, nothing about your diagnosis, nothing about your symptoms, nothing about your goals. It's what's that challenge? What's that gap that you're trying to leap between where you are and your communities over there? And therefore, let's think together and problem solve together some creative ways. And maybe it's walking the streets together just to find out what's there. Just to do your own personal mapping. What's in my street? What's in my block? What's in my neighbourhood?
Yeah. And how do we create opportunities for those to happen? How do we hold those conversations? How do we create those opportunities?
So do we dare say community mental health specialty has got nothing to do with mental health?
We could dare to say that. We could dare to say that. I think we're about to launch into a whole heap of other things that could belong in other podcasts.
So what's our call to action here for people listening? I mean, I think, I imagine we've raised some things that are a little bit maybe challenging, especially if they're running groups or they're driving people from A to B, or they're recognising that they've probably created a little a modern institution. What's our call to action? Is to maybe get out as a worker, walk the streets, find out what's out there and about. Ask that question of people what gives them energy, what gives them life.
Yeah, and I also think it's a fundamental shift in really recognising that recovery takes place in community.
Yeah.
And life grows and thrives in community.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily grow and thrive within a service environment.
Yeah. And so when people say, we're a safe place. I think that's the most dangerous thing to say, because it actually reinforces everything out there in communities unsafe. Come to us, we're safe, instead of thinking about, wow, how can I support you and encourage you to take that step into stuff that you may have forgotten how to.
On that point, we're going to close this podcast.
Already?
I think so, because
I was just getting started.
You've been listening to MindLife Mayhem with Helen Glover and Gill Townsend. This project is funded by the Australian Government Department of Social Services via an information, linkages and capacity building grant. MindLife is an initiative of Bridges Health and Community Care. These podcasts have been recorded at the Arts Nexus studio on Madangi country, and the music is by Jeremiah Johnson. If you've made it this far, you are clearly a MindLife change agent. And we've got a gift for you. Go to mindlife.org.au and download the resources that will help you to continue to avoid the pitfalls in either seeking or providing help.